Steak Bites, where we carve out space for meaningful conversations that go beyond the grill. I'm Kara Smith, your host and fellow enthusiast for all things tasteful and fulfilling. As new seasons come about, often brings a renewed focus on health, performance, and how we fuel our bodies. Whether you're an elite athlete or someone looking to optimize your daily nutrition, protein, especially high-quality beef, plays a critical role in strength, endurance, and recovery. So today we're going to dive into that with an incredible guest, UFC bantamweight champion, Raquel Pennington. She's a powerhouse in the Octagon and an athlete who's mastered the balance of discipline, training, and nutrition. She's also a friend of Colorado craft beef and has seen firsthand how high-quality, intentionally raised beef plays a role in optimizing overall health and performance. We're excited to hear her story, her approach to fueling her elite competition, and how she tackles both the physical and mental battles of the MMA. Welcome, Raquel.
How's it going?
It's good. Thanks for joining us.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm excited to be on.
Yeah, you bet. So Raquel, let's just start with where it began, particularly, in the Octagon. How did you start this journey?
It's actually a pretty crazy story. I grew up being a huge tomboy. I come from a huge Hispanic family. I have all the guy cousins. I have one female cousin. She wasn't really around when I was growing up. And so, just being a tomboy, playing all the sports. I was huge into basketball, volleyball, softball, baseball, track, cross country, like the list goes on. And I ended up breaking my back snowboarding, just being a Colorado native, being out and about, having fun. So I couldn't take any of my athletic scholarships to college. I took an academic scholarship to UCCS here in Colorado Springs. And then, I was just going through rehab and I went to the gym and I was lifting. My mom would go work out with me. And the first team that I started with, we were just at the gym one night and I was joking with my mom because I remember at I want to say I was 12 or 13. I fought with all my guy cousins. I have one cousin who's 5 months older than me and they call us Chip and Dale. And we were little terrors. So I was tough. And my best friend at the time, her dad was a professional boxer and then her brothers were professional boxers. So I went to some boxing matches at a young age and I came home and I'm like, hey mom, can I box? And her and my dad were like, absolutely not. You're way too pretty and your teeth are way too nice. And I was like, this is ridiculous. So then it was kind of a joke, back to that night at the gym. MMA, it's just, boxing is one aspect of it. So you have them doing all kinds of stuff. And the first team that I started with, they were in the little back yoga studio and they're training on those little 1/4-inch puzzle mats. They were doing judo, choking each other out, doing all this stuff. And so I was joking with my mom and I was like, hey, I'm going to go do that. And honestly, I think she just thought it'd be good to get me going again and get me motivated for something. So we went in and we talked to the coach and he explained the sport. The next day I went in for my first ever training session and it turned out to be sparring. So they kind of just fed me to the wolves. I'm a person who's addicted to challenges and everything else. And so, yeah, that was where it all began. I just started training and I fell in love with it. Here I am 15 years later.
No, that's awesome. I can relate on a few different things with that. Didn't have as many boy cousins, but the one I did, it was always something along those lines.
Yeah.
And, being a tomboy, I actually made the joke after Jeff and I got into jiu-jitsu. I was like, man, first off, I don't even know if this is a joke. It was, had I found this when I was younger, I probably would have been all about that. But also wow, this is something that I do feel like from a mental and physical perspective, it's both. It combines both. And I know of course MMA, there's a piece of that in within MMA with the jiu-jitsu side, but all of it, particularly when you become that physical. I would love to dive into not only the physical side, but the mental side, because I find that to be fascinating. I would love for you to even maybe equate it to a percentage of you're preparing for a fight. How much of it is purely physical and how much of it is physical and mental?
So a lot of people always ask that question, and I always actually say it's 90% mental and 10% physical. Obviously, it's an extremely physical sport, and that's what you're going out there and you're beating yourself up and whatnot. But like, there's been plenty of times, and there's been tons of other athletes that there's the battle before you even walk out there to the octagon. And if your head and your heart ain't right, it really does not matter. It doesn't matter how well of a fight camp you had. It doesn't matter what shape you're in. I mean, the mental aspect plays a huge part. And so just as my career has progressed, I mean, the stakes became higher and higher and the challenges get harder and harder. And it's a lot. And I mean, you go through the highest the highs and the lowest the lows in this sport. And like I said, I mean, I've been an athlete. I've tried so many different sports. And the mental aspect in MMA is just something fierce. It's something so different. And so when I say that the highest the highs and the lowest the lows, it's like, it's beyond true. And so, I took on sports psychology, and that became a huge thing for me. And so I started doing sports psychology just to mentally prepare for everything. Because, I mean, you can go in there and you can beat your body up every single day. But at the end of the day, like athletes, we tend to go into the gym, we're dieting, we're doing whatever it is. But how many times do people actually work on their mental aspect? And so to take that time off, and when you're going through recovery is just as important as putting in that physical work. And during that time of recovery, I like to do my mental training. And so it's just working on different things. It's learning, affirmations. It's learning how to navigate those emotions that you go through. It's learning when you get the anxiety or the different emotions and they become overwhelming on how to control that. So by the time I even walk into the octagon at this rate, like I've walked through that fight numerous times. And usually one thing that I like to do during fight week is my sports psychologist, we do a visual. And so, I like to light a candle in the room. I turn the room dark, and then I just prop the phone up, and we go through breathing techniques, and then we go through a whole relaxation portion towards learning how to control those emotions. And then after that, once you're in tune with your body, he'll just walk me through, and it's like, we visualize from the moment of like you wake up that morning, what does that look like, to every single step, and then you get to the arena and what emotions are you feeling, and in the process of doing that, you stop and you do breathing, and then you go through it. So then by the time I get to the arena that night, I already did the entire act. And so I feel so much calmer. I feel, just a lot more confident, as opposed to previously before I started really working on the mental aspect, my emotions would be everywhere. And it's like, you're trying to navigate it. And I talk to a lot of athletes who they still struggle with it. And they're on the highest platform as well. But even though I coach like high school sports and everything else, I watch like all these younger athletes, and it's really cool because now I have a lot of advice that I can give them, and to be able to see how I can calm them before they go out and perform. And then the excitement that's on their face afterwards and they go out and accomplish, like it is the mental aspect is everything.
Yeah. So what is that advice, Raquel? I mean, most of our listeners, I wouldn't say would be, elite athletes. Like, we're concerned with health, maybe, typical beef consumer, etc. But like, if you're going to give some advice, whether it's not only from the athlete perspective, but like just day to day, my brain went to my two little girls. Of I'm like, how can I take some advice from Raquel to help them be better mentally, from an emotional, physical, etc.
Honestly, every situation varies, right? So it just kind of depends. With my athletes in general, when I'm talking to them, or even if the younger kids, my godson, my niece and nephews and stuff and whatnot, like first and foremost, like it's really important to slow down in life. We all get so consistent and we're just like boom, 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 and going through routine and everything else that, we miss certain moments, or it just kind of becomes routine, or we have all these emotions and we haven't slowed down enough to even learn how to control those. So, I mean, the biggest thing for me is learning how to slow down. The next thing is we got to look and see if we're actually having fun. Are we having fun with what we're doing? Because at the end of the day, that's what matters. And, a lot of people, they come out and they're like, when it comes to sports or whatever they're trying to accomplish, like there's the ultimate goal. But the more like for fighting, like if all I'm focused on is getting my hand raised, I'm missing the whole piece of what's going to lead to that. And so it's like, it's kind of just being able to slow down and be present in that, having fun with it. And it's like not worrying about the outcome. What it circles back to is just putting best effort, because that's all we can ever do. So as long as you're out there and you're putting your best effort and you're having fun, it's a deadly combination. And most likely that outcome that you want is usually going to turn out to be exactly what you want, and even greater than what you could have pictured. And so, I just tell a lot of athletes, like, we'll go through and it's like, hey, like, let's do some breathing. And one thing that I really like to do is get present. So sometimes it's just like, we're in the mix of everything and there's a lot of commotion going on. There's a lot of people talking to you. The crowd is loud, but like, let's slow down. Let's take a couple deep breaths. How about you feel the ground beneath your feet? Like, wiggle your toes in your shoes, but like, get present and take your brain to that. Next thing, like, what are a couple sounds that you're hearing? And get present with that. What is the smell that you're smelling? And like, you just really like start slowing yourself down, and then your nervous system like really just tends to calm down. And then from there, it's like, okay, like, what are we going to go out there and do? And it's like, well, I want to do this and this. All right, well, what did we do in practice? And you crushed it in practice. So it's the same thing with like, for me, it's like another thing that's really important as far as like, you brought up your daughters and stuff. They're young, and like with me, with my daughter, it's like, just being that, like that role model. And you just kind of reiterate like the good that they're doing, and you're their biggest cheerleader and you're cheering them on. And, we go through little affirmations, and sometimes Alea will see us working out and she wants to do little things. And it's just like, oh, I'm strong. I'm brave. I can do it. And like, we make it fun. We sit there and we'll dance around and have a party. And it's like, oh, flex your muscle. I'm strong. And so, and in that, you're just building that, that confidence, and they don't even realize it. And then it just becomes something so different.
Yeah. That's even you talking about flex your muscles on the way home from school yesterday. I don't even know how it came about, but all of a sudden I could see Emma in the back, and she's over there flexing like, Mom, I'm strong. I'm like, yeah, you are, girl. You're strong.
I love that. I love it.
Yeah, no, I love to hear some of those different thought processes. So we have a lot of conversations with a lot of different people, whether it's leadership, athletes, like a lot of different walks of life. And one that came to my mind, when you were talking about going out and having fun and, achieving whatever those goals are, was, what does success look like? And that's one that I just like, it's kind of been burned into my brain, especially for the kids. Like, if they're going to go out and compete, be like, what does success look like? Maybe it means you just got out on the field. Maybe it means like you loped on your horse. Like, that doesn't mean that you won the world. Like, maybe that's what it means. And that's, when you're ultra competitive, which, I can fall into that camp. Like, sometimes you're focused kind of on the wrong things, in essence, not the journey and the process. And
yeah, it is.
Somebody.
No, I absolutely agree. And it's a really cool perspective, because at the end of the day, like, we could sit here and we can chat. And if I'm just open to hearing what you're saying and you're open to hearing what I'm saying, like, it's so neat, the different perspectives. But for you, success is going to look completely different. For you, fun may look completely different. And it's just like, it's the same thing with like, what's being rich in life, and everybody has a different perspective on that. Some people see it as having all the money and all the materialistic things and everything. Some people seeing it as, they got the money and they're just traveling and making memories. Some people see it as family. But the different perspectives out there are just like really neat, and everybody's goals are completely different. And it's the same thing, for me, going back to fighting, like, I look back at things and I'm just like, I feel super rich in life with the fact that, like, yes, has fighting provided a great lifestyle for me? Absolutely. But the fact that I've gone out there and all my hard work and never giving up and, climbing the mountains and falling back down and climbing again and seeing where I've gotten to and being able to, have my little girl and stuff, and now be able to provide a really fun lifestyle for her, seeing the younger kids in my family look up to me, being surrounded by such a huge family, I'm around tons of athletes, and half of them don't even have like some of the support that I even have at one of my fights or whatever it is. And it's just like, it's the little things that like truly for me just like make me feel like, so fulfilled in life and so rich. And it's just like, I don't know. I the thing with me is like, I love to talk and I love listening to everybody's perspectives because I mean, man, you're going to learn something every single day and it's only going to help to add and be able to grow.
Yeah. Well, and that growth mindset is huge. Just,
Mm-hmm.
and just the mindset in general, the mental side of all of it. But, you know, particularly when
Everything.
it's like you're tying that mental side in with the physical side, which, you know, maybe let's touch on the physical side a little bit, you know, as far as like prepping for the fights, you know, how you're kind of feeling your body, because like that's a lot of our concept is, you know, we're feeling bodies, but you know, you're feeling bodies so you can feel minds too, and these conversations and like the bigger things in life too. And it's kind of one of those things that you get to kind of take off the list of, if your body is fueled well, then, you know, your mind and the other things can come along with it. So what does that look like as far as, you know, feeling your body, you know, whether it's prepping for a fight or in general, what things go through your mind?
You know, I mean, it's a chain effect, right? And so when you're feeling your body, like it's not just where you're doing the mental aspect. It's not where I'm in the gym for fighting. I'm in the gym anywhere from 4 to 6 hours a day, 6 days a week. And then, you know, I mean, once in between those sessions, it's about what you're doing there too. So there's that rest and recovery. And a lot of your recovery comes from your nutrition. And it's extremely important what you're putting into your body, you know. I mean, where I said it's that chain effect, I can sit here and I can go put in a ton of work. And everybody, yeah, their bodies are completely different. But at the end of the day, I'll tell you what, like processed food, like all these refined sugars, everything else that you're doing, like they play a huge part, whether you see it at that moment or not. And it's kind of funny because with Tisha and I, we're polar opposite athletes, you know, like Tisha, she works hard, but she's honestly a genetic freak. Like the girl had a 6-pack for majority of her pregnancy. It was crazy. And then, you know, she went out, she had a baby. And I think 3 months later, she was in wicked shape and her 6-pack was right back. But Tisha, and for me, you know, I mean, I sit here and I joke around about having a Mexi roll and like I work extremely hard. I diet super hard. I've done like a lot of different tests and stuff. And like my body just doesn't like to lean out how I would like it to. But at the end of the day, like functional wise and just being a powerhouse all day. And so um it's really interesting because like I will eat like really high quality protein. You know, I'll go through different carb cycles. I do different things. And with Tisha, she can go through an entire workout and she'll come home and eat like a strawberry shortcake. And so it's just like, it's been interesting because, you know, I always tell her, I'm like, that's going to affect you. That's going to affect you. And she's like, no, it's not. I've been this way my whole life. And now, you know, she's currently in fight camp. And one thing that she experienced she decided to go with Lent and give up sugars. And that was like the hardest thing she's ever done because she is a sugar addict. So for 40 days, she had no sugar. And I mean, her body just showed, you know, her acne cleared up, like different things. Her sleep was a lot better. There was so much that played a huge part. And then, you know, I mean, Lent passed and she's like, all right, I'm eating all the sugar. And as soon as she did, she's been having phenomenal training sessions. As soon as she did, of course, she made herself sick. And then her next few training sessions, she just felt fatigued. She felt heavy. Like it was just one thing and she after another. And she was just like, wow, like I've actually really never noticed these effects because my whole life. So she turned around and for the rest of fight camp, she decided to give up sugar again. And she's like, my cardio feels so different. My mental clarity feels different. And it's even the same thing speaking for myself, you know, I mean, I'll go through a fight camp and I have to diet extremely hard. I fight at 135 pounds, but I'm not small. I walk at 165. And so like cutting 30 pounds takes a different type of discipline. And during that time, like, you know, I mean, I feel the big difference. And then of course, afterwards, after a fight happens, I want to enjoy myself. And when I enjoy myself, the brain fog, like the fatigue, the stomach aches, the bloating, just everything like I mean, it is truly important with what you're putting into your body.
It is wild. I'm right there. You didn't realize maybe how bad you actually felt until you started feeling really good. And then you look back at it like, wow, that's wild to know how much what you're putting in your body really impacts it. Like it's just, It's crazy. I know it was during your fight camp when you were out here, you were basically 100% carnivore, weren't you, Raquel? Is that right? Or
Yeah, for the most part. So like I pretty much like, and like I said, everybody's body's different, and people are going to hear these different things and they're like, "Oh, that's ridiculous. So this, so that." But like we all truly are different, and I broke out with a skin rash, and it was terrible. And doctors are like, "Oh," they actually were like, "You're covered in ringworm." And I was like, "What?" Oh, no. And so like it weirded me out. So I'm treating myself for a month like insanely with ringworm everything. And it got to a point that it was just like it wasn't clearing up. So then I went on to medication for ringworm. Well, then they're like, "Oh no, it's eczema." So then it turned into an eczema situation. And I'm like, these are two polar opposite treatments. So I'm treating for that. And it was just like one thing after another after another. Well, mind you, I just went through and like I've, my body throughout the years and whatnot, weight cutting, doing all the different things, like I notice a big difference each and every time. And I feel like my hormones have just been completely messed up, and, different things, your skin, whatever, like everything started to appear. And so for me, yeah, it went from like, I was trying to have balanced carbs. I was having complex carbs and whatnot, to I was eating your chicken and your fish and doing all your vegetables and everything. And, low intake on the red meat. And mind you, I love red meat. I am definitely a steak and potatoes kind of gal. So fight camp is like, just, it can be draining. And so, I've tried everything. And yeah, that last fight camp, I was like, absolutely not. Like what I ended up going to was pure beef from you guys. Mm-hmm. So I went straight from, this mixture of a diet to pure just red meat. And I was having eggs in the morning. Eggs were an easy source of protein. So I was doing the eggs, and then I went to straight fruit, and I was having spaghetti squash, and I was doing zucchini and yellow squash. And that's what I would add in there. And then every now and then I would do like maybe a little bit of rice or a sweet potato. But other than that, and then I would do some avocado. And that was my diet, and that's what it consisted of. And my weight cut was phenomenal. My just like the clarity in my mind was incredible. My sleep was insane. My skin cleared up, like no more anything. My skin completely just cleared up, and that actually happened within 4 days of starting that. And so I went through 2 months of having these issues with my skin, and, just feeling absolutely disgusted and not having a definite answer of what's going on. And then I simply switched my diet around, and all of a sudden, like, my skin is clear. Everything just kind of became balanced. And so, and then from there, I would even add in a little bit of like, I grew up hunting and stuff. So I would add in from, the animals that I harvest, some organ meat. Mm-hmm. And that was my diet. And I felt better than ever. And to this day, I'm still on that. And, I haven't been in fight camp. Tisha's in fight camp. I've actually been taking off a significant amount of time. It's important. And my coaches were like, "Hey, like, we don't know any athlete who's been out of the gym for as long as you have. Get your butt back in here." But I feel better now letting my body relax and just following that diet. I am actually walking leaner than when I'm in camp. And like I said, all those things, they're still there, and it only feels better and better. And I feel like I'm getting stronger. I'm not even lifting weights, and I'm getting stronger. But then when I'm in the gym, I'm trying to push around all this weight, and it's just crazy. Like, I feel like my cortisol levels, everything is just a little bit lower from the lifestyle change right now. But then the diet is a massive part, and I truly like stand by it at this point.
Yeah. I'd love to hear that. I know we talked about that a little bit while you're out here, and I've kind of toyed around with it, my whole life. Like, you could say I've pretty much been a carnivore because, like, we eat red meat because we ranch. That's what we have. That's been my life indefinitely. But I just would be 2 months ago, I went just full carnivore. And I was like, I'm going to try it. Like, why not? I guess I don't have an excuse, right? Beef, like, literally 50 feet
How
away
are you
from
feeling?
here. Actually, I feel great. Like, especially the brain fog went away. And I can see it just reshaping my body too. And you lose a lot of that like yo-yo cravings for everything. You know, you're always going to have that, I think, as a female to some certain degree, right? But like
Oh yeah.
it's been minimized so much more. And
I can control my cravings by fruit now.
yeah,
Like instead of wanting all that like, donuts or chocolate or whatever might, especially like you said, as a female during that time frame, and now it's like the cravings come, but they're very minimal. So it's like I'll go grab a handful of grapes and I am so satisfied.
good. Yeah, that's it. It actually is wild. We just talked about all of these kind of like very specific things to performance and health and fueling and things, but even with like Mother's Day around the corner, like I would like to hear your take on that from like a mother's perspective on what you're feeding kids too. Like this is something that I never really thought about that much up until I tried to hone it in myself. And then more and more every day, I think about those two little tiny humans' bodies, and I know you're in that same camp with your little girl of like, how do we kind of reshape that conversation, especially with like a lot of what society thinks is a balanced diet that's healthy, that's fueling bodies comparatively to maybe how you think about it now?
I think for me, what I go back to, especially living in today's world, we live in a very toxic world. And in America, what they do to our food is playing a huge part. I mean, you take these young kids, right? And you can see 10 and 11-year-olds, and these kids look like they're 17 and 18 at this rate. It is absolutely insane. You see an increase in ADHD and autism and all these different things going on. And it's just like, what has truly changed besides, the amount of technology that people are spending their time on that shows the different parts, but really it's all boiling down to food. And so I simplify it, I mean, I found something that like works. And when you really think about it, it's like to simplify it, it's like, I'm not going to eat anything that basically my ancestors wouldn't eat. And so you kind of just take it back and it's like, what was during that time? And to add another thing that I do add in there, which kind of helps, I love coffee or whatever, but I'm a beekeeper. And so with having bees and stuff, I have my own honey. And honey has been, everybody, the supplement industry can be a very dangerous game. And there's so many different ones out there. Honey is a natural pre-workout. Like it's absolutely amazing for you. And there's even studies out there showing how like, as even though it has like the sugar and stuff, it prevents cavities, different things and whatnot. And so like for me, like I've just simplified it. And I think the biggest thing that scares me as far as being a mom is, having a Leia. And it's like, what are you consuming and what are you eating? And I've told Tisha before the baby was born, I was like, we're her greatest protector. And like, I don't want to start her on a bad path in life. Like I want her to be as healthy as she can be. I don't want to be that like helicopter mom and not let her enjoy life. But I also don't want to see her to where it's like, I want her to just, I don't want my 10-year-old to already, as a girl, start her monthly at 9 or 10 and super young. And like, I don't want her to look like she's 18 at that young age and stuff. And, just the different effects. And so I was like, technology, not a thing. Like we live in a world that's that, but like, I want her to be a kid first and foremost. I want her to like, grow up outside. Like we live in Colorado. It has everything to offer. And then on top of that, with everything that we consume. And so, I try to have her on pretty much what we're eating and stuff. It's all healthy, or at least what I'm eating. And then, Tisha, like she's gotten better. She'll pay attention to like different like labels and stuff like that. And the one that's really hard is my mom. My mom's like, you guys ate this when you were young, you that, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, okay, well, the argument is, mom, like, take what we had in the 90s and look at the ingredient label to what it's changed to. You can take those same exact things and you would have something like this big of an ingredient list as opposed to now it's like this. Mm-hmm. And I was like, it's just completely different. And so like, as a parent, like I want you to respect those wishes because I'm only looking out for the well-being. And there are so many different options out there to where you can kind of make things a little bit easier. And so for me, it's just like, it's let's have a balanced little meal. Like Alea loves steak. That girl, she's my steak buddy. So she loves steak. She loves her eggs and whatnot. We give her some vegetables and everything and stuff too. But for the most part, I mean, she's pretty much on a like what I'm eating. And so and then I'll just like, I'll look up stuff and I'll send my mom, or, I even give Tisha and I give them options. I'm like, hey, here's this. And so I'm the one that's doing more of my homework, or I'm the one that like, I pay attention to these things a little bit more. And so they've, my mom's respected those wishes, and she's like, okay, cool. And even now it's kind of like winning over my mom. And so she's slowly been adapting to different things. And she was just like, wow, I'm kind of noticing a difference too. But, I mean, when you have somebody who's out there, and my mom's 60 and she looks great and everything, but she's been set in her ways for a very long time. And to understand that times have changed is a little tough. And so, yeah, for me, I mean, I just do the homework and she gets to enjoy herself. And, I mean, something here or there that the kids are going to eat, a cupcake or whatever, if she's going to get it, like, I'm not going to take that away from her, but it's not something that she's consuming all the time, and so it's very, very minimal. And just trying to find a balance. Or I've turned into a really good baker, and I just make all the goods that are pretty healthy for the kids to go enjoy, and I try to switch all the kids on it.
Yeah. It is amazing like how far we've come in that we can. I mean, even like substituting some high quality protein powder in with some of the sweets to where you actually have protein in them. Like there's some little switches that can be made that are relatively simple. Like even
They're
you mentioned
so
honey.
simple.
Honey is like, kids love honey. It's naturally sweet. Like, and it's from nature. Like if I need to sweeten their oatmeal or something, that's what I put in it. It's honey.
You know what I love to do? So the kids, like a bunch of the kids in the family love apple pie. And Alea's like had a couple bites. But even during fight camp, like, I mean, I want some apple pie, right? But I can't have it. And so I'll simply just take an apple and I slice it up and I'll throw it in my air fryer or in the oven, and I sprinkle some cinnamon and drizzle some honey on it. And it's literally like, I mean, if you want to get a little fancy with it, go ahead and put some Cool Whip or something, like add it on there however you want. But like, it's amazing. Like, it's just a simple replacement. Or one thing that I like to do, I mean, I grew up being a Colorado girl, go out backpacking. I don't need to buy like these like glucose tablets or different things when I'm doing massive hikes for miles and miles. Like, just take some fruit and I have a dehydrator, or I turn around, make my own kind of fruit roll-ups, and then I put them in my little pouch. And as I'm walking, I'm just sitting there, and I took actual organic fruit and made my own food instead of going and buying something in this package that's just filled with sugar and preservatives and everything else. And it's like, it's that simple. But the problem is like, I mean, it comes down to convenience, right? And that's what a lot of people, they just don't take that time or whatnot. And so it's convenient to buy all the other stuff.
Right. Yeah. That's actually been one of the, I would say, more even exciting things of kind of our evolution. Like we started in just high quality beef. That's what we do. And then we realized that we can't use the whole animal like we would like to. So then we start moving into some of these other options like tallow, which also has been a fun one. But then even like beef sticks, like that's one that I'm just like, man, we've made it simple to where you can take clean, high quality protein with you in a stick.
Correct.
Like, let's do more of that. It's just, I'm that mom. I at preschool, I'm like giving everybody beef sticks, and it's, I'm that mom. It's fine.
I'm the one that has like, it's so funny because my godson, like I said, he's 8. He'll come over sometimes, and like I've made some toothpaste with coconut oil and different things, and like, I mean, I'm that mom too. And I'm that person. I like do my laundry soaps a certain way, like all this stuff. And so everybody comes over here, and my whole family, they're like, do you have this that we can use? Or do we need to go buy it? Because everybody knows that like everything in my house is just completely different. But my godson will come over here and he's like, I want to try some of your stuff. And then he'll try like different things. He's like, this is kind of weird. And he goes home and he tells his parents about it, and they're cracking the jokes and everything else. But I'm like, guys, like, I'm paying attention to like what's going on in my body. And you and I, it's funny because, before this, I even texted you and I'm like, hey, And we're talking about sunscreen.
Yeah.
Sunscreen is one of the most toxic things out there, and people don't understand that. And it's like, it's so simple. You guys have made the tallow. Like, there's tallow available in this world. And to be able to just kind of mix that up, I mean, make it a fun little project with your kids. Like, do something and then slap it in a glass jar, and now you got your sunscreen and everything else. But like, it's so beneficial, and it's just, you know, it's the simplest things.
Yeah. Well, and I feel like a lot of it's kind of understanding where these things come from too. So then all of a sudden you can make it. You mentioned you grew up hunting, like you're back to that basic of where all of this originated to begin with. And, you know, you tell me your thoughts, Raquel, but I feel like maybe that's our part of the missing link, right? Like, let's talk about where these things come from, how they came about. You know, you're thinking about how we ate, or how our ancestors ate. Like, it's really thinking about how we evolved as kind of a species, and some of the things that are a little more, you know, natural, I guess, for lack of a better term, but, you know, kind of getting back to nature, working with nature instead of against it.
100%. And I always say that, but you know what's funny is, like, us saying that, we're like the, you know, we're the outcasts in today's society saying that. But it's that simple. Like, that's just the reality of it is, you know, we've complicated things throughout the years, and just more and more and more start happening. It's like, how do we just simplify? The same thing back to the beginning of this conversation with the mental aspect. Like, you simplify things. Everything we just need to simplify again. And it all plays a part. And so, yeah, I mean, the biggest thing growing up hunting, it's like, I know my food is organic. Like, it's out there roaming around. It's not being fed a bunch of hormones and antibiotics and GMOs and all this other stuff, you know, that's going on. And so it's like, just that. And I mean, from head to tail, everything can be utilized. And it's just like, there's so much nutrients in that, and what it benefits, as opposed to going out. And now all of a sudden, I mean, in today's world, like, the biggest thing is you have all these people who, you know, obesity, all these things have just skyrocketed. And the first thing that people want to do is they want to run to the doctor and get more medication or take more medication, instead of just like looking at how we can simplify this and what can change. And there's so many different things that change. You know, my Pompo, for example, which is my grandpa, they told him he was diabetic and everything else. And he calls me and he's like, "Hey, Dodo." And so we're sitting here talking. And he's like, they want to put me on these, what is it, the Ozempic or whatever? That's the new fad right now. And I was like, "Oh, Pompo." And he's like, "I don't want it." And so we just had a whole conversation and we broke down his nutrition. And now he went to the doctor today, and his doctor was like, "I don't know if I should be concerned or not, but like, your labs look incredible. You've lost 11 pounds. Are you doing this intentional, or do we need to dig further in this and prescribe you X, Y, and Z?" And it was like, why are you going to prescribe him anything when his labs look great? And now you're just concerned about the fact that he lost weight. Like, and my pop was like, "No, like, my Dodo just helped me with some stuff and I feel so much better." And she's like, "Well, whatever you're doing, keep it up." And all we did was go back and simplify what he's consuming. And now he's not even considered diabetic anymore. How does that work?
Yeah. No, it's incredible, isn't it? There's a lot of that in society today. So I know we got a little bit away from, you know, fighting and a lot of where this started, but I'd love being able to see, you know, we come from really two very different walks of life, but you can be unified in this type of conversation, and that's something that's very, very cool. And it is universal, like fueling people in general, fueling bodies, fueling minds. Raquel, do you have some thoughts? I want to say maybe even final thoughts to share with our listeners. You know, whether they're, you know, because not everybody's fighting MMA, right? That's There's probably a specific subset which, you know, you've done incredible, and that's so amazing. Like, actually, my little girls still talk about the belt and, you know, getting to meet Raquel, and like, yeah, it's something that is very special. But I'm just thinking from like our consumer perspective, from, you know, our common listeners, like what thoughts would you like to share, you know, from your own perspective, whether it's what you've learned, what you'd like to leave people with. I'd love to hear it.
I think for me is like life, life is going to be hard in so many different directions for many different people, and we're all fighting our own battles. And at the end of the day, like, we have one life to live, and life is going to look different for everybody. So I think staying true to ourselves and what's in our hearts, and then on top of that, time. You just get so consumed in your every single day. And again, it goes back to just becoming routine that, like, what is life about? Like, what is making you feel full in life? What are the things that you're lacking? And just kind of just really slowing down in your mental aspect. And at the end of the day, like, as hard as life can be, there's always a loophole in there, somewhere in there. And sometimes, the mental aspect, it's really hard to find that. And some people are going to be like, oh, you're full of shit, because they feel so low in life, right? But at the end of the day, there's always that needle in a haystack. You just got to sit there, and sometimes you might go through that category 5 hurricane to find it. But when you can find it, and then you just grasp that with everything that you have, and you keep climbing and dig yourself out with different things, like, we have one life to live. So live it to your fullest potential. Find the things that are going to make you happy. Find the things that you could put your best effort in. You're going to always have people who are just like, they don't believe in you, or the haters are out there and whatnot, but like, they're not the ones living your life. They're not the ones fulfilling you. And, like I said, we live in a very toxic world. So to be able to accomplish certain things, like, it starts with us, right? And it starts with every decision that we're making every single day. So from the minute we wake up to, there's a big difference. And you can sit here and you can wake up in the morning and try not making your bed one day. And then the next day, try making your bed and starting your day, and see with just that little act on the difference in your day and what impact it can truly have in your mental state. So sometimes we just got to take a deep breath in life, and we slow down, and we figure out which route is for us, and we figure out, what's going to add to that, and what's going to fuel us, whether that's our nutrition, whether that's our environment surrounding us, whether that's something internally that we need to take a look in the mirror. One thing that as human beings is looking in the mirror. Sometimes that's the hardest thing to ever do. And even though I've been extremely successful in life and whatnot, I am a human. I am not perfect by all means. And the only reason I've gotten to where I'm at in life is because I have sat there on numerous occasions and I have looked in the mirror. And the biggest thing in life is to get comfortable with being uncomfortable.
Yeah. There's so much to digest in that. But it's, a story of my kids again, being, especially my oldest, of being 5, and she's over there struggling with, you name it, doesn't matter what it is. Sometimes even tying shoes kind of hard right now. I have to look at her and be like, you can do hard things.
Yeah.
She's like, but I don't want to. I'm like, that's not really the point. Like, you can. So let's do it. Just like, and it's hard as a mom to watch them struggle. That's a hard one.
It is.
And let them.
It is. It's hard to, even just being a mom, being a parent out there right now, with Tisha being in fight camp, I feel like a single mom sometimes. And, it's just tough. And in those moments, like, I have so much fun with Alea, but at the same time, I'm a human being. And so trying to find the balance, and I can get very overwhelmed and whatnot. And sometimes it just feels emotional. But, it circles back for me. I'm like, okay, like, I've done hard things. I've done harder things. And like, this is such a blessing. And one day, like, I'm not going to have that time. Like one day, sometimes it's like, oh my gosh, I need a break. But in reality, like, there's going to be one day that I'm like, please come back, give me the love and everything else. And so it's like slowing down, just kind of taking those deep breaths and like just recentering. It's going to be tough, but there's always that sunshine. And so, I do have a hard time. Alea's starting to hit, she's not even 2 yet, but it feels like that little girl's in that terrible 2 stage. And I'm like, all right, girl,
yeah.
you are testing me here. But
yeah.
And so, it's learning how to navigate it all. And it all circles back to mindset. Strong mind, strong body is what I always say, Yeah. And so, the biggest thing is just kind of slowing down, being present, and like, all right, you got this. And so do I.
Awesome. So what's next, Raquel? What are you most excited about?
let's see. Tisha fights in, oh my goodness, next weekend.
Next weekend. Okay.
My time is going somewhere. So we're gonna make our way out to Las Vegas for that. I'm excited to watch her go out and perform. And then right after that, Alea's gonna turn 2. And then just enjoying some family time, you know. I mean, I've taken the time off, and just to be fully present, and then just kind of hit the reset button as an individual. And so to kind of get back into the gym, get into a different routine for myself. And then I would like to fight around maybe September, October.
Okay.
But other than that, I mean, just hanging out, enjoying life. I mean, the summer's getting ready to hit, and so I just want to do all the things.
Yeah. Yeah. All the summer things, especially in Colorado. It's where it's at.
Absolutely. Use some of those beef sticks you were talking about on all my backpack trips.
Yep. Take that protein with you. That's what it's made for. So, all right. Well, Raquel, I appreciate your time, all your insights. Can you tell our listeners, where to connect with you if they'd like to?
Yeah, if you want to connect with me, I have Instagram, which is Raquel_Pennington. I have, what is it? Threads.
Yeah, Threads, I believe.
One of those. I don't know what that one is. It's connected to my Instagram. Yes. And then I have X, which is Rocky P MMA. I try to get on there. The biggest thing for me is I love to interact with people. Like I said, I mean, I've been slacking a little bit just because I've been fully present in my life and taking the time with my little girl. But other than that, I like to get on there. I like to interact with people and take the time. It's a positive circle. A lot of people see what I do on my platform and they're just they're inspired by me. But in reality, the stories that you share with me or, the way that we can connect, it inspires me too. And I absolutely love it.
Yeah, that's great. One final thing I'd love for you to share, Raquel. I appreciate you being a friend of us individually, but also a friend of the brand. What does that mean? What does that mean to you?
It's everything, just the fact of, for one, just all of us being locals and supporting each other is a big thing. The other thing is, you guys taking the time out and your guys' family and the hard work that you guys do, being able to provide me and being able to fuel me to be the best that I can be is everything. And, I mean, we've had the opportunity, like you said, to get together and stuff and seeing our little girls. By the way, we're going to have to do that again. Yes. But just being able to see what all of us can pass down and stuff. I mean, this is a relationship that I feel will last a lifetime. And I am truly thankful for you guys.
Amazing. You as well. Thanks so much. It's so fun to watch you guys in the ring and just be like, man, I'm part of that.
Does it bring different emotions when you know somebody?
It does. I mean, it really, it is about the community. And like you said, you were like, man, we're just a little piece of that, just trying to help fuel that and be a part of something bigger, even something outside of what we do every day, which I love my ag community and that we're always very tight knit, but that's been one of the big things with what we've done with the company is to take it outside of that too. It is bigger. It's things like this of we're helping to fuel bodies and minds to go fuel your own legacy, which is pretty cool to be a part of that. So
it's a positive circle, you guys are building your own legacy and you guys have something going for your family. And it's just been been passed down generation wise. Right. And, I mean, you guys are making an impact. A lot of people are just oh, beef, whatever and whatnot, but they don't understand the work that you guys put in behind the scenes every single day and what you guys are going through and the high quality that you are actually providing to people. And you guys take pride in that, and I mean, that's everything. And so to be able to see that, I mean, we're thankful to have you guys as friends. And I feel I always say you guys, Colorado craft beef is my other family. And I just I take pride in it. There's, I will tell you, and I will say it, and it's not just because I know you guys, but if you guys are sitting here and you guys go to the grocery store and you buy a steak and then you guys are providing a steak, there's a significant difference in flavor and in your fuel. I mean, take the time, spend the extra couple bucks, whatever it may be, but there's a big difference and you guys are making an impact and you guys are changing people's lives.
Thanks, Raquel. We appreciate it. So as we wrap up today's episode, let's take a moment to reflect. A new season, new opportunities to reset, focus, make intentional choices about how we fuel our bodies, train our minds, and push towards our goals. Whether you're stepping in the octagon, the gym, or simply just striving to have a healthier life, every choice builds resilience and strength. So stay inspired, stay intentional, and keep fueling your legacy with purpose. Till next time.